There's a book publisher called Brave Books, okay? And they produce books that are titled things like Little Lives Matter, Hands Off My Coconut Cannon, or something like that. It's right-wing conservative Christian evangelical extremist propaganda for children. That's what it is. I've been going through a series where I'm reading a bunch of these books for children. The company was originally created by Kirk Cameron, Brave Books, or Brave Publishing, or whatever. I wanted to read one today, but before we read it, let me give a little introduction to explain why they're doing this and what it's all about. Check this clip out. This is Gene Bailey on the left. This is a TV show called Flashpoint, owned and operated by Kenneth Copeland. Gene Bailey is the host. And this was said on the Valentine's Day episode 2023. Listen to this.
You know, when we look back on Hitler, Hitler went for the youth. The enemy always goes for the youth. We must take up arms and go for our youth, arms of the truth and of godly principles. But
that's why Brave Books has been producing books the way they have at an astonishing rate. And Donald Trump even shouted them out recently. So let's read some of these books that they made for children, some of these propagandistic, ridiculous books. See what they have to say. This is a book titled Fame, Blame, and the Raft of Shame. This is by Dan Crenshaw. Dan Crenshaw is a member of Congress. And he's not really as, I don't know. I guess he's like less of a conspiracy theorist than others, but he's still a full-blown conspiracy theorist. So let's read the book, see what it has to say. It's Childhood Propaganda for the Right. Welcome to Freedom Island, home of the brave, where good battles evil and truth prevails. It's up to you to defend our great nation, save the animals of Starlit City, by completing the Brave Challenge at the end of this book. Yeah, they have a bunch of games to really drill in the ideas that they offer, because a lot of the points they make are really subtle, probably more subtle than a child would pick up on. So you're supposed to play games with the kids at the end, which are in the back of the book, to drill these points into them. Just off of Mar-a-Lago coast, deep below the ocean blue, was a wondrous place called Starlit City, protected underneath a seaweed dome that glowed green in the sun. The city was full of light and life. At the tippity top of the dome whirled a fantastical winding whirlpool, the only entrance to the grand city. Animals from across Freedom Island came to see the famous shows of Ocean Boulevard. Okay. Interesting pictures they've got here. A bear in a whirlpool or something? All right. In this bright and bubbly city lived a hippopotamus named Eva, who loved to laugh. Ever since she was as little as a butterfly burp, what? Eva had dreamed of telling jokes on stage. She had only one problem. Eva was terrified of speaking to a crowd. Oh, yeah, most people are. I don't mind it as much anymore. I can talk to people just fine. To build courage, Eva got a job working for Swan, the most famous magician in all of Starlit City. Eva answered phone calls, sold tickets, and even rode all the way up the whirlpool to the beach to buy Swan's favorite sea salt coffee. And to Eva's delight, Swan let Eva be in her magic show every night. Eva was finally a part of the magnificent history of Ocean Boulevard, where all of Freedom Island's best performers made their names. Remember, this is about cancel culture, so I'm kind of seeing what they're going to formulate here. Eva was always tired from all the work, and it didn't help that Swan sawed her in half every night, but the opportunity was worth it. One night, Swan asked our audience for a brave volunteer. Mr. Mountain Lion raised his big paw and leapt to the stage with a triumphant roar. The crowd cheered because he was one of Freedom Island's soldiers, but then a skunk with a smirk called out, maybe the magician should pull another eye out of her hat. Another eye? What? Mr. Mountain Lion smiled softly. Ever since battling a great white shark, he was used to the jokes animals would make about his missing eye. How rude, Swan honked. You must hate all the one-eyed animals. Then the crowd became angry at the skunk. Okay, so that's interesting. Dan Crenshaw has an eye patch. He lost his eye. I don't know how exactly. Let's find out. No need to wonder. Just loaded up our question gun. Let's go answer hunting. Okay, yeah, so I guess he sustained damage to his left eye in Afghanistan in 2012. Again, he was in the military for years. He's a veteran, and he lost his eye there, apparently. He served on SEAL Team 3 in the Afghanistan war. Wow, crazy. So he was pretty high up, apparently. So anyways, yeah, Dan Crenshaw, of course that would be what he would talk about is, somebody making fun of someone without an eye. And nobody really cares about jokes like that. If the person takes it in good faith and it's good-spirited, no one cares. It's when it crosses into attacking somebody that people care. Does Dan Crenshaw have a single example of somebody being canceled or attacked over a joke about an eye missing? Ridiculous. This hateful animal has hurt Mr. Mountain Lion's feelings, yelled Swan. Let's build a raft of shame and trap the skunk forever in the whirlpool. This way, all who visit our great city will see his shame. Okay, so they're saying that you want to, elevate them and hold them up as, evil or something? That's not what people are doing when they're canceled. They're just refusing to enjoy the show that they're putting on, is all. They're not, holding them up and displaying them for everyone to see as evil or something. Ava, use your might to throw this skunk out. Shame on him. We don't want his hate in Starlit City. Shame, shame, the crowd echoed. Ava and the crowd glared at the skunk. How dare he offend Mr. Mountain Lion? With a smirk and a snort, Ava tossed him onto the raft of shame and hurled him up the whirlpool. Round and round the skunk swirled, sobbing with sorrow. I was only joking. Okay, here's the thing about cancel culture. There's this thing called the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. If you haven't heard of this book before, I'm going to insert a little clip here to explain what it is. If you have heard of this before, skip forward about 10 minutes. In 1902, newspapers in Tsarist Russia start publishing this document called the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. They came up with, 15 or 18 of them, or I don't remember exactly how many. They claimed that they found these documents on dead Jewish soldiers, and they were articles that describe how the Jews were going to accomplish world domination. Now, this is completely made up. It was anti-Semitic propaganda, obviously. There was no dead Jewish soldier. There were no elders of Zion. It was all completely fabricated from the ground up. But it was used to demonize a minority group within the country. And if there's one thing we've learned over the past couple of years even, it's that fascists and extremists love to blame all of their problems on minorities. Hitler, when he eventually came around, even reprinted copies of the Protocols of the Elders of Zion and wrote about it in Mein Kampf, talked about how the Jews are trying to take over and all this other stuff. But in 1923, about 20 years after it came out, it was discovered that the Protocols of the Elders of Zion was actually plagiarized, full-blown, copied and pasted, or the writing version of copied and pasted, the early 1900s version of copy and paste, straight from an 1854 satire book, a French satire book that didn't even mention Jews. It was just straight up plagiarized. 80% of it was plagiarized from this 1854 book, thus putting the final nail in the coffin, proving that this was completely forged. It was fake. It was just propagandistic bullshit created by, anti-Semites to destroy the Jewish community. So that is what the Protocols of the Elders of Zion is. This is actually a copy of it right here. Protocols of the Elders of Zion. It was compiled into a book in 1905 called Protocols of the Meetings of the Learned Elders of Zion. A little bit longer, but yeah, it's all fake. It was all completely faked. I'm not exactly sure how many protocols there are. 10 at least. There may be more than that. Well, anyway, protocols includes things like, just listen to one or two lines here. In miserable Russia, the Jews are less than 5% of the population, yet they hold over 90% of the official positions. Russians and Jews are very much different, yet Russia is governed by a mere handful of unprincipled Jews. The 95% of Russians have only a 10% say-so about their own government, and even the 10% in office are but lickspittle, or fronts, to the domineering Jews. To the reasoning mind, such a condition of affairs seems impossible, yet the condition exists. In fact, a careful study to the protocols alone will clear up the mystery. Now that you've read that one sentence from the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, a book supposedly discovered on a dead Jewish soldier, written by Jews in power, listen to what this televangelist Lance Wallnau says. He's about to explain Seven Mountains Dominionism, or the Seven Mountains Mandate, which is the televangelists' plan to take control of the country. I'm not joking. This is from early March 2022.
3% of the population, roughly 3 to 4% of the population, are radical leftist elites. 30% of the population are evangelical born-again Christians that are inclined to go towards Pentecostal language. I mean, we're really out there. 30% against 3%, but they neutralize the church because they're also in religion. They changed the definition of marriage, so they've taken over family. They've totally taken over academia, so the education institutions are teaching leftist theology or leftist ideology and silencing conservatives. They're controlling government right now. They've taken over legacy media, Hollywood, entertainment, and arts, and now they've got Wall Street.
These are the 7 mountains, the 7 areas of society that they want to take over to control society in a Christian nationalist state, is what he's describing right now. This came straight out of the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, directly lifted from it. Did Lance Wallnau lift it? I don't know. Somebody did and provided this information to him, and he started repeating it. Somebody lifted it directly from Protocols.
This is 3%. 30% of the population is Christian. How is it that 30% are dominated by 3%? They have a worldview for bringing their kingdom here now.
I'm dead serious. This came straight from Protocols. Jews are less than 5% of the population, yet hold over 90% of the official positions. Russians and Jews are very much different, yet Russia's governed by a mere handful of unprincipled Jews. I mean, you're seeing similarities, right? There are other similarities. I can't find it at this moment, but there's another part that talks about Jews attempting to spread Darwinism and Marxism through society because they're wonderfully destructive ideologies. They're trying to spread them through society to destroy society. Does this sound familiar? Darwinism, Marxism, saying that they destroy society. The leftists are setting out to destroy it. Seriously. Word for word, the tactics being used on the right at the moment. That's what Protocols of Elders of Zion is. That's what it's all about. That's where a lot of televangelists are getting their ideas from. Directly, I don't know. Setting out to deceive, I don't know. Are they even aware of this document? I have no idea. But it's copied word for word in some situations, and it's uncanny. Oh, here's another one. The idea that Jews eat babies, or that the elites drink adrenochrome from children. That's straight from Protocols of the Elders of Zion. QAnon is nothing more than a rebranded Nazi death cult. Every conspiracy theory you can come up with came from this document. The conspiracy theory that Jews eat babies or that they drink the blood of children, that's from Protocols. Protocols of the Elders of Zion. The idea that they control the big banks and the media and all of the other stuff, Protocols of the Elders of Zion. It's from this document right here. The conspiracy theory that they try to cancel people that they don't like, cancel culture, Protocols of the Elders of Zion. It's all from this. The idea that Marxism and Darwinism are evil and that they're trying to use it to destroy society, Protocols of the Elders of Zion. It's all from this. Every conspiracy theory in the past 100 years that you can think of. The Great Replacement, where they're trying to bring in other groups of immigrants to destroy our culture and to outweigh votes and things like that. Protocols of the Elders of Zion. The conspiracy theory that Jewish people are trying to enslave the world or whatever other thing, it's all from this book. Dead serious. This is where pretty much all anti-Semitism stems from, or, well, I guess that's not exactly accurate. This is a compilation of all anti-Semitism from the past 1,000 years. It was all put into a book right here, and it was passed around Nazi Germany. And, get this, it was passed around the Middle East by the KGB in the 20th century, passed around in Iran and Saudi Arabia and all of the other Middle Eastern countries in that area, Egypt and all of them. by the KGB to make the Middle East hate Israel even more. That's at least part of the reason why Iran absolutely hates Israel and why they're Holocaust deniers. Or not Iran necessarily, but the leadership in Iran. That's why they're like that. Because the KGB passed these conspiracy theories around over the past 100 years. Thanks, past me. So the point that I wanted to make about the Protocols of the Elders of Zion is that cancel culture came straight from that book. The idea that you can encourage people to, like, quote unquote, cancel anybody who goes against the culture that, you know, the evil Jews want to construct for everybody. It's a fabricated problem. Cancel culture doesn't exist. But the right in the United States right now is using the concept of cancel culture to escape accountability. Jokes give us insight into people's headspace. The jokes they make tell us what kind of person they are. Just as an example, Dave Chappelle, not too long ago, did a whole comedy special, a whole set about the trans community and how, you know, they're causing problems for society or some other nonsense, right? And his trans jokes were actually funny. I found them hilarious. The jokes that he told, I can totally take a joke. And you know what? Most people can. It was when Dave Chappelle stopped joking and said, I'm not joking anymore. This is not a joke. I'm a TERF. I don't like trans people, and I don't want them to be a part of the society, basically, is what he said. When he stopped joking is when I had a problem with it. Now, he's being defended as just telling jokes. No, the jokes were great. It's not about jokes. People are perfectly free to tell any jokes they want. But if every joke that they tell is about hating Jews, it kind of tips you off to what their innermost feelings and desires and thoughts are, first of all. And second, usually you can find a billion examples of people talking about the issues that they joke about in a really disturbing way. So cancel culture, this whole cancel culture is evil thing, is just the right's method of escaping accountability for truly disgusting behavior. Right here, what happened here, making a joke about night, nobody would care. I wouldn't care. This is a completely fabricated problem that does not exist. Most disabled people can take a joke, as long as it's not the same stupid fucking joke repeated 17 times. You know, think to yourself, when something pops in your head, is this something that this person has probably already heard 17 times today? If it is, think of a different joke. Come up with something that's actually amusing. You know, anti-LGBT activists have the same joke. They call them the alphabet people, or they say LGBT A B C D F G. Like, that's not funny. It wasn't funny 10 years ago when this joke started, and it will never be funny. That's not being canceled for telling that joke. That's just not coming up with creative, funny jokes. So anyways, what they're portraying here is fabricated, of course. People can take jokes. Even the left. Everybody can. You're just trying to escape accountability for bad behavior. After that, shows went on and the animals forgot about the skunk. But whirling high above the city, the raft of shame pulled so hard on the dome that it cracked. Soon water began to drip. Thankfully, a seaweed mechanic was eager to fix the leaks. A few nights later, right before Swan pulled Ava out of a hat, a stream of icy water went splat down her back. How rude, Swan honked. The beaver did that on purpose. Shame on him. Shame, shame, the crowd echoed. Ava, use your might to throw this beaver on the raft of shame. We don't want his hate in Starlit City. If it's an honest accident, nobody really cares. I'm not seeing the point that they're trying to communicate here. They're attempting to use cancel culture, or some supposed perceived existence of cancel culture, to excuse themselves from actual legitimate wrongdoing. Ava knew the beaver didn't mean to get Swan wet, but the other animals glared at her. Fear tied her tongue in a knot, so with a squawk and a snort, she tossed the beaver onto a raft and hurled him up the whirlpool. Round and round, the skunk and beaver swirled. I was only trying to help, the beaver cried. Grumpy as ever, Swan banished more animals to the raft of shame every day. Swan banned Chipmunk for singing a song that offended her, Antelope for accidentally poking a pufferfish, a pig just for being friends with a shark. The raft of shame was so full now that the crack in the seaweed dome grew bigger, and cold seawater flooded the city. With the city's only seaweed mechanic on the raft of shame, no one could stop the leaks. Okay, I'm kind of confused by what's happening here. Is this supposed to be underwater? We're underwater, right? Why are there cats down here and swans? And how is it leaking underwater? That makes no sense. A seaweed dome? What? So they're underwater in a bubble, I guess? I don't understand what's happening. Then one night, Swan decided to stop her magic show and instead say mean things about the animals on the raft. Look at all the water that fell through the dome. Those animals deserve to be banished. No one in the crowd made a peep, but Ava laughed to herself. That's ridiculous. What are you laughing at, you ugly hippopotamus? Demanded Swan. Come tell the crowd what's so funny. Right, so calling somebody ugly, that's actually offensive. And they realize that that's offensive to call somebody ugly. And that's why they're portraying, the supposed left, the perpetrators of cancel culture, as the ones that are actually offensive. Now, would somebody be banished for calling somebody else ugly? Probably not. They probably wouldn't be canceled for that. They would be canceled for attacking marginalized groups who are otherwise helpless and having basically no remorse for it. Like, Dave Chappelle is proud of hating the trans community. They're not jokes he's telling. It's just hate that's being spread. Plain and simple. So they're trying to portray the other side as ugly. And by the way, for what it's worth, if you think the left is the one that's canceling people, think again. The right is being canceled. They're just canceling people they don't like. The right is canceling people. They're just canceling people they don't like. What do you think would happen if Donald Trump came out as gay tomorrow? Would he keep his voter base? What do you think would happen if Ron DeSantis came out as trans? Would he continue having the position in the polls that he has right now? Of course not. They would drop him like a hot potato. He would no longer have any relevance in the Republican Party. The right cancels people constantly. If you don't conform to their exact worldview, you're evil and they want nothing to do with you. If you aren't a Christian, you're evil. Hell, if you're a Catholic or Jewish, you're evil. They don't want anything to do with you. They're portraying this as though the left is the real perpetrator of cancel culture, when in reality, society has certain expectations and norms and desires for how people should act. All of society, everybody in society has ideas about this. Even the right. And to be perfectly honest, the right is significantly worse about cancel culture than anybody else. The left is attempting to build inclusion, to build a society where everybody can feel welcome. And the right is trying to clamp down on it and force the LGBT community out, force the trans community out. Is this not the right canceling people for being trans? How many examples do we have of the right canceling people for being gay? They're trying to cancel books that have anything about being gay in them, anything. They tried to cancel the book Mouse, which is a book about surviving the Holocaust. Why? Because the right are the real perpetrators of cancel culture. But if they can follow the protocols of the Elders of Zion adequately, they can portray it as the left, as their political enemies, doing the evil thing as they view it. Accountability is not the same as canceling somebody. Fear tied Eva's tongue in a knot, and she began to shake. Eva thought of the poor cold animals on the raft. She had to speak. If you punish animals you think are hateful by being hateful to them, doesn't that make you hateful too? Swan, your actions make just as much sense as a snorkel on a fish. The animals howled with laughter. Ava is being mean, cried Swan. Let's send her to the raft of shame. No, yelled the crowd. We should put Swan on a raft. Shame, shame. Ava, use your might to throw Swan onto the raft of shame. We don't want her hate in Starlit City. Oh, it's sideways. I'll have to flip it. So with a gin and a grunt, Ava pulled the raft down the winding whirlpool. Ava and the crowd apologized for sending the animals to the raft when they knew it was wrong. We should try hard not to offend others, Ava said, but we should try even harder not to be offended. This will make us all stronger. I agree with that, actually. I agree with that. We should try not to offend, but we should try even harder not to be offended. Agreed. Absolutely. Skunk, said Mr. Mountain Lion, I forgive you. It may have been a bad joke, but I know you didn't mean to hurt me. After Beaver repaired the city, Ava moved the Raft of Shame to the middle of the city and called it the Stage of Fortitude. Her first act was a funny show with the skunk and Mr. Mountain Lion. It was the most popular performance of the year. No one wanted to listen to Swan's angry honking anymore, and soon she had to find another job taking calls, selling tickets, and buying sea salt coffee for Starlet's new favorite joke teller, a certain hippopotamus named Ava who loved to laugh. Huh. Interesting. You know what they're portraying here, right? They are portraying Swan being canceled. This is cancel culture on the right, isn't it? Am I wrong? Is this the book advocating for cancel culture? See, there are reasons for canceling somebody, even in the mind of the right. In fact, especially in the mind of the right, especially in conservative circles, there are valid reasons to cancel people. Being gay, disagreeing with something that somebody did, a ton of reasons. They just don't like the reasons that other people have. They're trying to escape accountability, plain and simple. And again, this whole situation is ridiculous. A few weeks later, Ava accepted a mysterious invitation. Dear Eva, often the strongest among us show strength not by yelling, but by laughing. Your bravery in seeking justice in Starlet City has come to our attention, and we salute you. These books always end with this weird little thing. It's like a call to action. You should cancel the correct people, apparently. Like, it doesn't even make any sense. Did they point to who they want the kids to cancel specifically? Freedom Island needs help from animals who are strong of heart like you. If you are willing to defend our dear island, answer the call. Journey to Wizard's Way by the first day of fall. Wizard's Way? That doesn't sound very Christian. Hurry, our island will not last long without heroes to defend her. Anticipating your speedy arrival, The Legends of Freedom Island. Okay, so now there's a little section with, like, games and stuff, and we get to hear from Dan Crenshaw about, like, his ideas on this whole thing. This is designed to drill the ideas into people's heads. It's just propagandistic nonsense. So let's read it, see what it says. Okay, here's the objective. Welcome to Team Brave. Your mission for this Brave Challenge is to save the animals in Starlet City from being canceled by Swan. To get started, grab a sheet of paper and a pencil, draw a scoreboard titled Team Brave versus Team Swan, like the one shown. Here's how to play. In this Brave Challenge, Team Brave, the children, will compete against Team Swan to earn points. At the end of all three activities, the team with the most points wins. During each game, parents will roll a die for Swan. The number rolled will represent the number of points Swan earned in that game. Write this value on Swan's half of the scoreboard. At the end, if Team Brave has more points than Swan, they've successfully saved the animals. Okay, here's Dan Crenshaw, an introduction. Dan Crenshaw is a U.S. congressman and conservative icon who's spent his career bringing awareness to issues close to his heart, including free speech, patriotism, and personal fortitude. No to all of those things. He helped Brave Books write the story and the Brave Challenge and will be popping in to give you ideas on how to explain the concepts to your child. Hi, parents. We hope this book is a blessing to you and your family. You must protect the animals of Starlet City against Swan. Have fun with the Brave Challenge. Here's game number 1. Get me off this raft. The lesson, how to forgive, how to ask for forgiveness, and how to understand each other's intentions. Okay, I'm not really opposed to any of those things. That sounds fine to me. You are an animal living a peaceful life in Starlet City until one day you get thrown out and tied onto the Raft of Shame. Your objective is to make such a strong plea to the other animals of Starlet City, they have to let you back in. The parents, or Swan, will come up with some unreasonable and funny reason for the child to be sent to the Raft of Shame. Stinky feet, drawing a fake mustache on the dog, wearing a yellow shirt and you don't like yellow. They're trying to make a point that, it's little things. The left cancels the right for little things, and that's completely made up. Encourage children to think about Swan's perspective and then make a persuasive cause to her. For example, I didn't know my feet were stinky. I would have cleaned them if you just told me nicely. Parents will award points for how good the plea is, how animated the child gets, and whether the child can stay on his or her raft. They can award anywhere from 0 up to 8 points for a great plea. Take the average of all the kids' points and write it on the scoreboard. Okay, here's the talk about it section. How did you feel about getting blamed for something unreasonable? What is your first response when you get blamed for something? Has someone ever been upset with you and ignored you or even stopped being around you? How did this make you feel? Would you want to make someone else feel like this? How should you respond to Swan when she disagrees with you? Like, I don't really have a problem with any of this inherently. These are all fine lessons, honestly. Like, you should try not to shun. right? You should try to maintain and build relationships to the best of your ability, up to the point where people are being abusive to you. At that point, you have no obligation to have them in your life anymore. Now, when somebody is being abusive to you, you're the only one that can determine if that's the case. Are they being manipulative? Are they gaslighting you? Are they taking advantage of you? There are a billion possibilities here. And you're the only one that can determine that. Now, I don't have a problem with you drawing a line in the sand and saying, I'm not dealing with this anymore, as long as it's really abusive. But, I have an aversion to shunning naturally after having left Jehovah's Witnesses and experienced it myself. I just want to make it clear that the left doesn't have a canceling problem. The left cancels people way less often than the right does. The right is just really good at conforming precisely to what they want and to what is expected of them. Again, if Trump came out as gay tomorrow, he'd lose everybody, practically. I mean, there are some people out there that believe him to be the Messiah. They'd probably stick by him, but even a lot of them would probably give up on him, because how could a Messiah be gay? That makes no sense, right? Dan suggests a productive society doesn't close off conversation, but is open to a variety of ideas and suggestions. While we may disagree, we should have the right to express our thoughts. Know this, my beloved brothers, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger. James 1:19. Again, I'm not a fan of the fact that they're quoting Bible verses, but I don't inherently have a problem with the message being given here. I'm okay with that. It's just the fact that they portray this as an inherently left-wing problem that exists, and that's just fabricated nonsense. Why was pleading while you were on the raft difficult? How do you think Skunk and Beaver from the story felt after they were sent to the raft of shame or canceled? How else could those situations have been handled? Canceling. This is a definition, apparently. To call out an offensive behavior, remark, and or action, and to reject a person responsible through shunning or verbally targeting, as opposed to constructive and empathetic dialogue. Well, see, that's the problem. On the right, when they cancel people, it's not something that they say usually. I mean, sometimes, I suppose. It's usually just an inherent piece of who they are. They don't like the fact that they're black. They don't like the fact that they're gay or trans or whatever. There are a plethora of reasons why people on the right cancel others. I mean, it happens constantly. Has there ever been a right-wing trans person elected to Congress? Ever? That's a direct result of cancellation. You have to conform to the right or you won't succeed. Cancel culture. There is no cancel culture. This is fabricated by the protocols of the Elders of Zion. The cultural habit of purposefully finding offense where none should exist, such as removing Aunt Jemima from the syrup brand. No, that's legitimate. Aunt Jemima was a racist black stereotype. And why do you care? It's not finding offense. It's not offensive, quote unquote. You're just removing an old racist stereotype. Why do you even care? It's like Dr. Seuss taking some of their old books out of print. It was Dr. Seuss's decision to take those books out of print. Why do you care if Dr. Seuss does that? It was their own decision. Let me see if I have a clip on this. Yeah, I do. This is the exact clip I was hoping to find. Perfect. Listen to Glenn Beck fearmonger and act like the sky is falling because Dr. Seuss made a decision for their own company to let some old books from like the 40s or 50s fall out of print.
They are banning Dr. Seuss books.
Who is they? Dr. Seuss? No, they're not banning Dr. Seuss books. They just let them fall out of print. And isn't it fascinating to hear him talk about how evil book banning is now? The right is the king of book banning right now. They have basically cleared out entire libraries, and any books added have to go through an approval process now. It's insane where they are at this moment.
Books. How much more do you need to see before all of America wakes up and goes, this is fascism?
Dude, I love it. Talking about banning books as fascism, fantastic. You're absolutely right, Glenn.
This is fascism. You don't destroy books.
I love this, dude. This is old, too. Well, it's not even that old. It's 2021. It's March 2021. How did I forget about this clip? This is fantastic. I need to circulate this on the twit or something. I totally forgot this clip existed until I was reading this book on cancel culture. Oh, this is great. This is great. I love it. You know what? I'm going to tweet about it now. I don't normally tweet, but, oh, this has got to go. This got to go out. I got to spread this. I'm tweeting it right now. Glenn Beck. Banning books is fascism. Oh, God. What do I say? I should say something really, really funny, right? Somebody should send this clip to Ron DeSantis. LOL. Perfect. Tweet. Fantastic, dude. Fantastic. This, God, I can't believe I forgot about this clip. All right, let's just start it over and listen again. This is great.
They are banning Dr. Seuss books. How much more do you need to see before all of America wakes up and goes, this is fascism?
I love it.
This is fascism. You don't destroy books.
Thank you.
What is wrong with us, America? Go out and buy those books today. Find out if you can get them. Buy Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head, because it's the end of an era. It is the end of freedom in America.
Oh, I love it, dude. I love it to death. So, again, Mr. Potato Head, that was another culture war issue at the time in 2021. Mr. Potato Head as a company changed their name from Mr. Potato Head to simply Potato Head, because they don't sell Mr. Potato Heads and only Mr. Potato Heads. They also sell Mrs. Potato Head. So they wanted to be more accurate. It was a company decision that they made for their company. And the Dr. Seuss thing, again, it was a decision Dr. Seuss made for Dr. Seuss. This isn't banning. This isn't canceling. This wasn't like even a response to like perceived offense or anything. Well, in Dr. Seuss's case, maybe. There were some really, really racist parts of some old books from the 40s or 50s. So they just let them fall out of print. No big deal. But, of course, hypocrisy is rife among the right. Like, they don't seem to understand the concept of hypocrisy. Now Glenn Beck is all in favor of Ron DeSantis, banning books en masse. Literally, like, empty library shelves at this point. He went on a book banning, spree. Look, this is current Florida library shelves right here. Empty shelves because they banned every book until they approve them again. When these books are approved, they can be added back to the shelf. And which books are they going to approve? Far-right extremist books or middle-of-the-road centrist moderate books. And that's it. No books that portray any kind of ideas outside of that. That's fascism. Glenn Beck's absolutely right. That's fascism. Good job identifying fascism, Glenn. Now are you going to call it out when it's your side doing it? Of course not. Of course he's not. Why would we expect any differently from Glenn Beck? Anyways, this Aunt Jemima removing it from the syrup brand or whatever, that was Aunt Jemima's decision, the company's decision. This is not public outcry that caused this or anything. Nobody gave a shit, really. But it was an old racist trope. And so the company's like, you know what? It's time to update. Let's update. And they did. You're the only one that cares, Dan. Nobody else does. You're the only one that cares, Glenn. You're the only one talking about this. This was like the center of conversation on Tucker and everything when Dr. Seuss was making these decisions. Tucker screaming about books being banned and canceled. The sky's falling. When it was their decision to make. Insane. But what if a book comes out that's about somebody's struggle dealing with society as they came out as trans? Oh, that book's okay to cancel. That's okay. The right's perfectly fine with cancellation. In fact, they're in favor of it. They just don't like it when you try to hold others accountable. Dan suggests we all make mistakes, often unintentionally. We improve by learning from mistakes. When people get canceled, they are not given a chance to learn or improve. Remember, we should try hard not to offend and try even harder not to be offended. Why is communication important in a family? How about in our country? Look, most of the stuff that I've read in this so far is okay. I'm perfectly okay with a lot of this. It's just the blatant, bald-faced hypocrisy that can be found in this book is just absurd on every level. Game number 2, Operation Raft Rescue. Materials needed: a 6-sided die, stuffed animals, 1 blindfold per child. Objective: animals of Starlit City are in trouble. Team Brave must rescue the animals canceled by Swan, who has hidden them. Navy SEALs like Dan are experts at rescuing people from dangerous situations. You can do it too. Yeah, he was SEAL Team 3 apparently. Dan Crenshaw was. Pretty impressive. Instructions: roll the die, see how many points Team Swan earned. Record the number on the scoreboard. Every member of Team Brave will be blindfolded and will work together to rescue 3 stuffed animals that are hidden around the room. For every stuffed animal rescued, Team Brave will be awarded 2 points. The game has 2 rounds, so you'll get 2 chances to find the animals. Each round will last 60 seconds. Round 1, Swan, or a parent, is giving instructions that are misleading and or incorrect. Swan's also saying how bad they're doing and how they should just quit. Round 2, this time, Ava, also played by a parent, is giving good instructions, positive feedback, and helpful advice. Try changing up your voice while playing the different characters. Game on. Now there's a talk about it section. Try to, propagandize to the kids even more. Which round was easier, the round with Swan or the round with Ava? Why? Why don't people always try to give helpful feedback? Dan suggests sometimes in life, people choose to tear others down in an effort to build themselves up. It's important to give healthy criticism while not being needlessly critical. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree, actually. This is fantastic. A lot of the stuff in this book I agree with. They are just convinced that the left is evil and, the perpetrators of all this stuff when it's simply not the case. Number 3, sometimes during round 1, Swan even said things that weren't true. It's always important to tell the truth, but it's just as important to speak with kindness. Absolutely. What happens when you have truth without kindness or kindness without truth? This is Proverbs 3:3, another Bible verse. Oh my God, dude. Do not let kindness and truth leave you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on a tablet of your heart. Okay. Dan suggests kindness without truth can lead to naivete. Wow, that's a big word for a children's book. It means it can lead to you not knowing, to being naive. That's the root word. To not knowing something or being gullible, maybe is a better translation there. Kindness without truth can lead to gullibility, probably pretty close, and a lack of preparedness for the future. Example, participation trophies. Oh my God. Participation trophies. That's hilarious. Like, who gives a shit? Why are they so obsessed with these issues? It's insane. Truth without kindness can lead to demoralization. Example, your performance was terrible. Were you even trying? Good communication has a proper balance of truth and kindness. Example, you lost this time, but I bet you'll work even harder and win next time. It's interesting they bring up participation trophies in this. I've been watching for this, but in the other books from this series, they have a little section that says they try to make it unfair in the favor of, like, the enemies. Like, Culture the Vulture comes in, and he gets extra points because he's a socialist, and socialists get extra points. It's just crazy, dude. And so it says, give your kids more points so that they win and don't get discouraged. It says that in some of these other books. That sounds like a participation trophy to me. Is that not a participation trophy? Insane. Can you think of anyone who speaks into your life with kindness and truth? Game number 3, the Big Laugh Challenge. Canceling shuts down and isolates, but laughter brings joy and communion. Okay. Objective, welcome to Ocean Boulevard where Swan is about to perform. The mission for Team Brave is to refrain from laughing at Swan's, or a parent's, performance. It's up to you to keep from cracking even a smile. Join together in this mission of standing up against Swan. So they're saying you need to cancel Swan, right? They're showing kids how to successfully cancel somebody they don't like. Am I misunderstanding this? Have a parent stand on a stage by setting aside a place in the living room in front of everyone. For example, Swan could tell these jokes. What does a cloud wear under his raincoat? Thunderwear. Okay. What did one toilet say to the other? You look a bit flushed. All right. Funny jokes. Team Brave earns points by refraining from laughing at Swan's jokes. Yeah, they're trying to cancel Swan. This book is all about how evil cancel culture is, and they're portraying canceling somebody at the end. Really? Team Brave starts with 6 points, loses a point each time they laugh or smile during Swan's act. Okay. Talk about it. Oh, check it out. Here's a Brave tip. If a member of Team Brave has a joke and Swan laughs, they can earn an additional 2 points. That's the participation trophy they're giving you. They want their kid to win so they don't feel discouraged, so they're giving the parent an out to add more points to the kid and remove some from Swan. See how that works? Jokes and laughter bring joy even when you try hard not to laugh. How do you feel when you tell a joke and make people laugh? Why are things like kindness and patience and joy important? But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Galatians 5:22 and 23. Yeah, my mom had the fruits of the Holy Spirit on seashells, I think, hanging on the wall when I was younger. Republicans, like Dan Crenshaw, most definitely do not portray the fruitages of the Holy Spirit. But that's neither here nor there. In this book, did Ava get mad when Swan was acting rudely? How did she react? With laughter. How should you react to rude people you meet? Swan wanted to cancel Ava for making a joke about her that she didn't agree with. When people disagree with you, should you shut them out of your life or try to include them? Why? Well, we just spent the past 2 pages explaining how to cancel Swan, so it seems pretty obvious to me that, they want to cancel people. Dan suggests Swan tried to send Ava to the raft of shame, but Ava refused to do the same thing to Swan. Instead, Ava put a stop to the endless canceling. Cancel culture is the process of bypassing normal conversation and debate, ending the discussion instead of starting it. Talk to your children about the idea of finding many different solutions to difficult problems. And then they quote Luke 6:35. There are a lot more Bible quotes in this book than the others. Love your enemies, do good, lend, expecting nothing in return, so on and so forth. Luke 6:35 talks about being kind, even to your enemies. What are some benefits of being kind to people who say something you don't like? Here's the final thing. Dan suggests when we show kindness in the face of cruelty, it gives us the opportunity to break down divisions. We avoid unnecessary conflict and can even start a friendship. This doesn't mean that you shouldn't stand up for yourself, but you should stand up with grace and fortitude, not bitterness and contempt. Yeah, overall, I didn't really have a problem with the book. I just had a problem with who it was directed toward. They seem to be obsessed with the idea that the left cancels people constantly when it's actually the right doing it. There is no sense of consistency or cohesion between the beliefs, depicted in this book. There's no sense of principle or irony or anything by these people. It's nuts. Anyway, let me know what you thought about it in the comments. This book is just one more example in a long line of absolutely nutty things that the right is doing right now. Okay, sweet. Are they doing a conservative Avengers? That could be. That wouldn't surprise me. They're trying to build an entirely new conservative, wing of society right now. Nemo Nova, you know how Disney remakes movies so that they don't have to pay royalties? Same with Aunt Jemima. Her name was Anna Short Harrington. Her family sued and the case was dismissed. I will miss her beautiful smiling face. Really? I had no idea that was the thing. Very interesting. Had nothing to do with race, nothing to do with being canceled, none of that. It was just but none of the facts matter to these people. To Dan Crenshaw, to the people who produce brave books, none of it matters. What matters is hating the other and convincing children that they're out to get you at any cost. It's unhinged from reality, dude, really. Unhinged.